Sorry for the delay. Thank you for being here. I'm Marissa Klein of the Dreamcatchers. For almost 20 plus years, I ran a staffing firm called Choice Fashion and Media, where I focused on getting people jobs in creative industries. My company was a division of a family business that was started in 1974. A staffing firm is the middleman between a hiring manager or a client and an individual. And every once in a while, more often than not, a company needs that outsourced service to fill a job. So it's actually to your best interest when you're looking for work to register with staffing firms, because they may have access to open positions through their clients that you wouldn't be able to get on your own. I ran a staffing firm for a long time, and the part of my job that I loved the most was helping people. And that, for better or for worse, is not always accessible when you're in a traditional staffing firm, because your job is to fill an open position with a person that suits that open position. So if you have registered or if you have looked for work and you find that you're running into silence, how many of you are affected by silence when you apply to things? Womp womp, it's the worst. But let me explain why. Because job search, for the most part, is still being done, aside from AI and computer sorting through things. We're still humans on the other end, and there's not enough time in the day to service all the people that need us. That's not an excuse, but it is a human answer sometimes when you're feeling frustrated. Anyways, my sister, who is not here, and I started a job search strategy firm in 2020 where we basically take all of the experience that we had on the other side to help people figure out what they need to do better when they're searching for jobs. Because job search is cumbersome, hard, emotional, frustrating, lonely. Should I insert any other positive adverbs? But we all get it. Like, it's not easy. So what we try to do is change the way people are looking for work, and it's an unsung epidemic that as a culture, we all do these things by ourselves. We don't get our hair highlighted by ourselves most of the time. We don't fix our toilet by ourselves most of the time, right? So there are plenty of services out there for things that are necessary. And I would like to think as job search strategy as the next necessary solution for people when they're in transition. Anyway, anything more on the Dreamcatchers, we work from a job search side, and then we also work from the small business side. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting out, we do that too, because for 20 years I sat down with small business and helped them staff their companies. So I have a wealth of information in this brain that I'm willing to offer at any time to anyone in here at any age. We are age agnostic. We are industry agnostic. Even though I was experienced in fashion and media, it doesn't mean I can't. One of my clients right now sells hose fittings, as if I know what anything like that means. But I can fix anyone's resume and most importantly, I can fix anyone's spirit. And that's what we're in business to do. So with that said, I am introducing a beautiful panel of talented individuals that all work in this building, that are all looking for staff, whether it's for their clients or for their own teams, that all have exciting journeys to share with you. And frankly, when you're looking for work, the more inspiration you can find, the better you will be. Because the healing and the positivity helps with the crap. And there's no better way of putting it, okay? I have some women power on the end to balance me out, and then some handsome gentlemen up here as well. And Melissa on my right, who is an owner and founder of her company, I will let her introduce herself. And she just explained her company to me, because even though I'm old and wise, I had no clue what she and her husband were doing, or partner. Whoops, I let the cat out of the bag. And I find it fascinating. And if any of you are in sales or business development, you need to listen to what Melissa needs to say. Go ahead.
Hi. Oh.
Are you on?
Am I on? Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a business owner, and I partner with major brands And on their behalf, I hire, train, develop dynamic sales teams to represent these clients in multiple different capacities. However, beyond representing these brands in a sales capacity, I really am interested in what my passion is in growing and developing leadership development and future business professionals. So leadership development is what we really do, and really creating capable, confident humans is what I'm passionate about. Outside of that, I'm a mom of 3, and I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit organization.
And Melissa, what's the name of your company?
Pearl Hoyt.
And we'll get to your nonprofit in a little, but one of the things I like to start with when we open up conversation is, what is your earliest memory of what you wanted to be when you grew up? Because I'm going to guess it was not a founder of a leadership and sales training platform.
No. I don't know if this was necessarily my earliest, but I will say that the most profound memory of what I wanted to be was to be a doctor. And I wanted to help people in whatever capacity. I wanted to be able to make an impact on other humans in their most vulnerable moments. And although that didn't translate into what I did, I think that the transition was, it was just an involvement of wanting to be a doctor to help people, to then helping people in their careers, to help building people and feeling this fulfillment in giving them a substantial way to help them in their life.
It could have also been that you weren't good in biology.
Actually, I was decent,
Fair.
but the level of excitement that came from
Dissecting a frog?
Versus
Fair.
The excitement of
helping people.
So
You did a step that I like to do. So I love to deduce, because who we are when we're kids is actually not that different than who we are as adults. We just forget it along the way. And what I like to try to do when I'm meeting with a client is get back to the beginning. Like, what did you love to do? Why did you love to do it? What makes you you? So that we can figure out some of those skill sets and get back to a path that could possibly be rewarding. So what Melissa just said, she wanted to be a doctor. Now, granted, at 5 or 8, she would not have the bandwidth to know some of the other things that she could do with those interests. But to work where she's developing and healing and solving things is pretty darn fabulous. Connecting those dots. Perfect. Don, you want to take over and introduce yourself and explain your role at the company and your journey a little bit, and also what you want it to be when you grow up?
Yes, I can do all those things.
Please do.
I'm more on the leadership management side, where I really focus on the sales, the numbers, the day-to-day management, making sure teams are doing the right things, also with the development of the team. I think Melissa is my wife, but we have a lot of the same passions in what we do. I did not want to be a doctor when I was younger. I actually thought I was going to be in the Air Force and I was going to fly fighter jets. And then my dad took me to an amusement park and put me on the thing where it's like 3, 2, 1, fly, and I realized that that's not going to happen very quickly because
you didn't care for it?
Extremely scared of heights. So then I guess I had to rethink what I was going to do. And then I had one of my really good friend's father, he sold patents. He was an inventor. And he was like, the patents are great, right? But it's the selling of the patents that I'm excited about. Sitting in a board meeting and meeting with people. And then I remember that stuck with me, and I'm like, okay. And they lived in a very nice house and lived a great life. So I was like, I think I should get in sales.
Did you sell patents before?
Never.
Okay.
I've never invented anything. My wife's the inventor, not me.
There needs to be a yin to a yang in every relationship, I believe. Partnership and also romance. You need to have some balance.
I'm the dreamer.
Yes, I'm the dreamer too. My husband is the way you described as well, and we could never work together. We just leave that for my sister and I. So we have Patrick here on my left. Do you want to introduce yourself, your company, and your journey a little bit, what you do for your company, and what you wanted to be when you grow up?
Absolutely.
Oh, are you on?
Am I on?
Now you are.
I'm on. Absolutely. So thank you. My name is Pat Pompilio. I am born and raised here in New Jersey, actually in Monmouth County. So I work for Soni Resources. I think Marissa said it best. We are a staffing firm. Now I know everybody knows what that is. Essentially what we do is we work with clients, some of the best companies in the area, to help them find their dream candidates for their teams. And then we work with our candidates as well to find their dream roles. And what we really try to do is understand what candidates are looking for in their next opportunity and understand what teams are looking for in their next candidate and try to make that match right the first time. Does it always go right the first time? Not always, but that's the goal, right? And I'm sure we all have experience there. But we specialize in a few different areas here. We have 4 verticals. We have an accounting and finance team. We have a pro team, which covers your HR, admin, customer service. We have an IT team that lives and breathes in that space, and then a marketing and creative team as well. Did I know I wanted to be in staffing when I was young? No.
Definitely not.
Because I don't think anybody does.
No one ends up in staffing intentionally.
Exactly. Everybody has a story.
Yes.
But when I was young, I wanted to be a meteorologist. Jim Cantori, I was going to say Jim Cantori is my hero.
How would you have done last night? Did you see that coming?
I did not see that coming. And that's why I'm not a meteorologist. I missed it, and I was actually leaving here, coming out of the gym at about 7 o'clock. And I guess there's not many windows in there, so I had no idea what had just transpired. I thought it was 94 and sunny. And I got to my car, and I'm driving out, and it is dark, and there are 6 trees in the middle of the road. And I'm like, what just came through here? So now I'm driving
Jim would
on
be
the
very
grass.
disappointed.
Yeah, Jim would not be happy. So that's why I decided to pivot. And I went into staffing. But I guess my moment was I went to school for finance, and I always thought I was going to be on Wall Street and doing the financial route, and I love numbers. But I had an internship in school that allowed me to engage with people every day. And then I realized that there's, more to it than sitting behind a computer for me and crunching numbers. I really like building relationships on both ends, and that's kind of how I fell into staffing.
I love that. So I think sometimes when you're on your way up, you don't know, even though you know who you are, you don't know where some of your skills can shine. So, I appreciate you sharing that, because in the first few moments of Patrick speaking, I think any of us would realize that if he was a personality sitting behind a desk crunching numbers, he probably would have been a sad clown, right? Because he has a personality, and he's definitely more extroverted, and as somebody that's worked with people for a long time, you can pick that up right away. So therefore, your intuition would be that you should be working with people and not always behind a desk. And then finding those jobs that bring those things out is the magic. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
And you know what? A meteorologist is probably one of the best jobs you can have, because they're never right and they still get to go to work.
Exactly.
Okay. So then on my right side, I have my other friend in staffing. You want to introduce yourself, Steve?
Yeah, my name's Steve Morrell. Again, we're in staffing. We're mostly focused on IT. We've been around 20 plus years. For the most part, we're pretty agnostic when it comes to IT, cybersecurity, product development, QA testing, some M&A work on the due diligence side for a Big Four advisory firm. We help backstop. So for the most part, we're pretty specialized, but sometimes we have other client needs that come in that might fit some of the other people I've talked to here, as half of you stop by my booth. So for me, growing up, what I wanted to be, well, that was the story. So we come from a sports family. My grandfather has a street named him after Union City for being a youth basketball coach. So my family's passion really was basketball. As most of you probably can see from me up here, I'm 5'7" on a good day. So you could probably project me as a child. Couldn't even touch the net. So I went to my dad, like, hey, Dad, maybe I'm better with a sport that keeps me on the ground. So from there, went into hockey, got into youth hockey, scored a couple goals, started off hot. I'm like, Dad, I think I know what I want to do for a living, play for the New York Rangers. Yeah, that didn't work out. But with that, I think taught me growing up, which most kids, I'm sure, growing up, playing sports, whatever it might be, is competition, teamwork, all the core skills you do learn. that kind of helped me transition into the career I'm at in IT staffing and just people in general, helping people, helping clients, playing the matchmaker, making sure that we're having a perfect match on both sides and working with all unique and different personalities across the board and doing the best I can on the client end and on the candidate end.
So what we have here, and this is a good example for all of you that are learning about these kind of companies, we have basically two gentlemen that have, Patrick has a division that would be a rival of Steve's, to be honest. And also, everybody here has a focus on sales. Now, let's talk about Bellworks, because what I think is the most fun about being here is that we're here. Most of us in the New Jersey area have done a tour of duty schlepping to this fancy city across the river. Anyone else have done that for years? Same. And when I discovered Bellworks several years ago, my sister and I fell in love with it. We took office space here. We worked in collabs, and it was Life Reimagined. Speaking of, the title of this conversation is Work Reimagined, okay? And as we all know, work and life have changed quite a bit in the last 5 to 8 years. So when I took a space here, I would say it was 2018. Life was different than it is today for sure, but for me to be able to work in a professional space without having to go into the city and have all this vibrancy was phenomenal. Now fast forward through COVID, also everybody coming into wanting to find something with flexibility or be closer to home is more traditionally normal, correct? Like most of us, we can say that sentence and it doesn't feel like we're saying the wrong thing, like we should be whispering it. Instead, we almost lead with it, and it's customarily okay, which is a blessing or a silver lining of what happened during COVID. So I kind of wanted to spend a little moment talking about Bellworks, why you chose to work here or put your office here, and how you've experienced what you found being part of the community, Melissa.
So I think that Work Reimagined is thinking outside of the box while professionally progressing. And I think that Bellworks embodies that. So we tiptoed into Bellworks a couple years ago, just renting conference room space because we were still coming out of a virtual time of being in COVID. And then we went and got office space somewhere else. And when that lease expired, it was a no-brainer to come here because it embodies culture, innovation, energy, and some of the coolest things that we get to do is my team was playing basketball 2 weeks ago on a Friday before we started meetings, and they're meeting in the morning, wherever you can eat. We've had team events here, and there's just so much to do, and it allows us to create a culture that is cohesive with the company culture that we want to create. So I think that it was just a great decision for us to be in Bellworks, and it's really why we love it.
I love that. And I'm assuming these gentlemen agree.
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
Overwhelming yes. I mean, look at us today. We're in the center. The sun is shining finally. And you have all these people here. You're getting a crossroads of people from probably Monmouth, Ocean, Middlesex, right? A lot of central New Jersey. It's very easy to get here. And it's fun. And you know what? Work is not always fun. And this makes it fun in a lot of ways. So what I wanted to ask, I'm going to actually play a tiny game with the audience, and I'm hoping some of our audience members will be engaging with me. But there are only 3 reasons why a job is open. Can anyone be courageous and raise your hand if you know one of those 3 reasons? Go for it. My friend in the blue. Right. There's a space, a vacancy. Someone has left their role. Thank you, Anton. Okay, so that's one. That's an obvious reason. Someone has left the role. Go ahead. What was that? A new role is created. A new head count is created. Thank you. And now the third most challenging one. Go ahead. Oh, boy. So now, does anyone have the third most challenging one? Go ahead. Green in the back. a promotion. That's true. So I would put that in the same category as vacancy, right? What? Not a cultural fit. That would also go in the same category as vacancy. So the third one, it's not something that we hear every day, is added revenue, so added headcount, right? We've all been working in a world where added revenue and added headcount has been not something that we say as often as we did maybe 15 years ago. But that's the only reason why jobs are open. Somebody has left the role, or they were promoted within, or there's a space. There's a new headcount because they've won new business, like maybe what happened in Melissa's and Don's world. And or, what was my third? I already lost it. And this is my moment.
Increased revenue.
Increased revenue. Thank you. So, with that said, it is not easy to find a new job. It's just not. So I think it's important to have that texture and that reality, because when you are a job seeker, you very quickly forget what it's like to be on the hiring side. And when you are on the hiring side, you very quickly forget what it's like to be on the looking side. And of course, because we sit in our seats, we remember both sides quite often all the time, and we have a lot of empathy for it. So with that said, for my team here, Steve, I'll ask you, what are some of the trends that you're seeing right now in the market, and when it comes to work being reimagined? What are type of the jobs that are opening? What are you working on right now? What kind of things do you need help with?
Yeah, well, from my visibility from an IT perspective, two main trends are playing out, and you guys probably seen this in the news all over the place. It's the integration of AI. What does AI look like in the workplace, and how are we going to work with AI? A lot of people could forward think that 50 years in the future. I know Elon Musk recently mentioned, like, 50 years from now, do we become, everyone just has a universal pay, and AI does everything? Of course, that's Musk, if I were thinking it. What is the media future is, well, how do we work with this going forward? How do we use this? Everyone in this room, I'm sure used some type of chat GPT, something of that nature. And that's probably the most recent example you could use of how do I integrate this into every single day? What do I use? How do I prepare a speech? How do I use it as a sounding board? How do I prepare for an interview? How do I put my resume together? I'm sure by a raise of hands, how many of you use ChatGPT to put your resume together? Don't lie.
I hope you edited it a tiny bit so it sounds like you.
But it's obvious. Why wouldn't
Thank
you do
you.
it, right? So it's something of that nature that we're seeing more and more come up, and we're getting an idea of what does the new workplace look like with something that's ever evolving in the most rapid pace that I've seen in my professional career of 16 plus years doing it. So that's been a huge trend we've seen lately. And then again, my world, I'll speak to IT, cybersecurity first and foremost is something that, even with the challenging labor market that we're seeing right now, is at the kind of forefront, I would say. Not a lot of people from, I guess, the C-level are willing to risk their company going down because of a cyber hack, because of a breach that takes customer data, and then all of a sudden, no one wants to work with the company, no one wants to hand their information over to a company, so that will always be an area of spend that will never go away. So I'm seeing those two trends play out pretty heavily over the last few years, I would say for the most part.
Perfect. And, I think, Patrick, if you could take from there and maybe focus on some of your other disciplines, maybe some trends that you see in finance or marketing creative, or that you can speak on, or any jobs that you guys are currently working on at any level that could be of interest to this crew.
Yeah, no, and to speak on it a little bit further, you actually hit the nail on the head. Finance and accounting is an extremely hot industry right now, and very in demand. I think there was a lot of people that did not go into it for a period of time on the front end and did not go to school for it. And now, post-COVID, companies are booming again. When companies are booming and taking on more business, that means more back office finance and accounting needed. And now we're seeing that people didn't go into it on the front end. Paired with the booming, there's a huge demand for candidates, which is driving pay up, and is a great industry to explore. And a great career to start going into in terms of education.
What kind of job titles are we talking about?
I'm talking right out of school.
So entry level.
Entry level, all the way up the chain. But it starts with entry level, right? Because getting the education, getting the foundation, and then getting in at entry level limits it. There's unlimited possibility after that because of demand for it and the lack of quality talent out there. And I think what's really separating people, not just from a resume and education perspective, is the intangibles. A good piece of COVID, you mentioned, is the work-life balance and flexibility. What I think is lost a little bit is work ethic. So
That's true.
A lot of candidates, no matter what level you're at, it could be a CFO, it could be entry level, the people that are willing to put in the work and work hard are thriving more than the 10 out of 10s on paper.
Do you feel that how many of you are in the finance world? Okay, I see a bunch of hands. So do you find that the pause in the finance world was, during COVID, a lot of those companies didn't go hybrid. A lot of those companies were full, still that 80-hour work week. That is that New York City metropolitan area mentality, right?
Absolutely.
Do you find that some of your clients now are a little bit more flexible, or do you find that job seekers now are craving the stability of something that's every day where they need to be?
Yeah, it's actually it's a battle. It's a battle between both, right? And there are certain industries that are harder than others to be flexible with remote. There are certain job titles where you do have to be on site for things, where you have to cut checks, where you have to be physically there.
Right.
But there are also others where there is room for flexibility. So I think that they're finding the median is important on both ends. I don't believe that fully remote is going to be around forever in
Agreed.
every industry, nor do I think fully on-site needs to be for every role in every industry. I do think hybrid is here to stay. Because
And also to that point, from this vantage point, I don't actually recommend fully remote to most people.
Nope.
I don't think it's good for people. And that is coming from somebody that I worked a hybrid job before hybrid was cool. And I will tell you that people that have worked fully remote for a very long time, they lose people skills, both emotionally, socially, and professionally, that I beg people to pay attention to, because when you are not used to not being around people, it shows in very unique, odd ways. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And just from a personal story perspective, I was remote for 2.5 years during COVID and post-COVID, and we, as a company, decided to go back to a hybrid schedule, and our Jersey team that followed, and that's where we started looking and found the Bell workspace. And I will be honest, my CEO might not love this, but I was not excited about going back. I was loving my remote schedule. I had my gym routine. Everything was set on a timely basis. I worked till then, went to the gym, came back, worked a little bit more, and I did not want to come back. So we did land a space here, came back to office, and I will tell you right now, sitting here, a year and a half later, if I were posed with the question, would you go back remote? Absolutely not. Absolutely confidently, I could say no.
By the way, I think that's super, super inspirational to share, and really important when we are evaluating things that, make the new dream job the dream job. So be careful what you wish for when you're carving out what you think next is. But I really, truly believe, and this is coming from not only being one of these people, but also looking at the different types of roles. If it's hybrid, I think it's a home run. I'm serious. And actually, in addition to hybrid, I think full-time is better than full-time remote. Seriously. And that's my TED Talk on that. But thank you for sharing. And then I want to say, Don, do you want to chime in a little bit about what you think, especially since you are helping sales teams grow and nurture their clients? What does work reimagined mean to you? Because, by the way, until AI replaces all of us, work is still a human game, right? So there's a lot of things that AI will do. But if you still need a salesperson, we can't necessarily be replaced. The joke is going to be lost on most people here, but the Jetsons.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Absolutely. So
Thanks, Melissa.
Unfortunate.
Stephen kind of touched on this, but I think, Like, I'll give you a little story. So I'm not in real estate, but my neighbor is. He owns like 6 different brokerages, doing well. He's like, we had a guy come in like a year ago. He worked with us for 8 months. He made like 1.2 million. And then all of a sudden the guy went away. Like, just gone. It's like he made, poof, gone. And they couldn't figure out all these guys. He has like, let's say 100 realtors. And he like, oh, what is he doing? Is he stealing? They're going to like find bodies in the woods of this guy, like fake, deals. What he did is he was extremely smart with AI, but he also had people skills. So I think Work Reimagined, it's going to be people that have the people skills. They can communicate effectively what things are if they're talking to somebody in a tech world, or Joey down at the deli who's slicing meat,
And if we all love a Joey.
We all love Joey, and we all got a Joey. But the point is that you have to be able to communicate it effectively, but not only the AI with the humans, but also the human needs to be able to communicate effectively to the AI. And that is going to be, in my opinion, the people who do the best and are most successful in the indie industry. They have the human skills, the touch, or whatever you want to call it, but they also can speak to AI and get AI to do things for them that they can't do way faster, and they're going to be a lot more valuable than the human that's just doing regular sales or finance or whatever.
I tend to agree. I agree with you in the fact, I think there's a hidden emotion or a hidden skill set. When I use AI, I think about how I would talk to my junior staff when I had a larger staff. I want to find empathy. I want to find my voice when I'm asking it for help, right? Meaning I'm not just asking it a direct question and expecting it to spit out an answer. I'm using EQ for my AI. EQ is an emotional quotient of being able, hi Patrick. Patrick's a Dreamcatchers graduate. Sorry, Patrick, I just saw you over there. With that said, I think that there's, sorry, not you. I think there's something to be said of when you're utilizing AI to help with your sales pitch or help with your communication, it's so that you can be better, not that you're using a crutch.
Absolutely, because honestly, if you're just asking it questions, I was talking to my wife about this, but there's research where if you are just asking AI questions for it to do things for you, and that's the way you're literally going about your everyday life, you lose intelligence.
Yes.
Literally, you lose intelligence. You don't even remember the questions you're asking the AI.
Yep.
Right? And you can't do that. The emotional intelligence part is everything. It's like if I write an email, I'll tell you, I've done IT sales, right? There's a older gentleman who, in IT, every single email, guess what it is?
It's AI.
It is a copy and paste it AI. How do you think every single person in the company that reads this feels?
Delete.
We're like, oh God. It's like 6 pages long. It's not necessary. There's no personality. You can't get any gauge of a feeling or a thought process of how they're doing it. It's just copy and paste it. So something else I wanted to add is, like, if you are doing those things, using your email, you are doing your resume, you have to put your personality on those things somehow. You cannot just let it be the robot or the AI speaking for you. You use it, like you said, to enhance what you're doing.
Enhance who you are. So to that point, if you use AI, I love to suggest it on your bio on LinkedIn. Okay, you can take your entire resume, put it in, here's a Dreamcatchers secret, top secret, ready for the whole world to hear. You can take your entire resume, put it into chat, and ask for a condensed LinkedIn bio. Because sometimes when you're looking at that stuff, it powers people down. They don't know what to say, they don't know how to get out of their own way, and instead of just doing something efficiently, they get lost, feel like crap, and move away from the computer. Right? Does that explain how you felt before? I understand, because it's just not naturally intuitive to sell and market ourselves that well. And even if we are good natural salespeople, we're sometimes vulnerable or humble when it comes to selling ourselves. So I think when you use AI to help you, remember that's what you're doing. You're using something to help you, not to use as a crutch. Fair? Okay, so to my team here, are there any jobs that you're working on right now that are hot jobs for you? That's what I used to call them at Choice. Like the job that I need 10 candidates for and I could use them yesterday. I think Patrick was saying entry-level finance.
Always.
Is there anything else that is a big deal for you, Melissa? Like the types of people that you're looking for right now that you really hope are walking over to your table?
Yeah, I mean, sales, but someone that wants to grow beyond sales. So someone that wants to be in leadership. So the things that I'm looking for are very much the things that you cannot just pull off of someone's resume. I am looking for the grit. I'm looking for the emotional intelligence, the connection, and someone that wants mentorship. And someone that's going to be able to show that desire to learn and grow and have that humility is going to do well in a lot of different roles.
And that person's going to do well in anything, to be very honest.
It's true.
Grit.
And then Patrick or Steve, if you want to tag on to that, is there any piece of advice, tangible advice that we could give to this audience other than the things that we've been spewing out them, that we haven't said?
Absolutely. I would say to keep it simple, find a passion and go after it, right? Doesn't matter what it is. It could be Joe from the deli. It could be, finance. It could be accounting. It could be driving. But that's what makes the world go round. And the people that find their passion and go after it are the ones that succeed. And that's, again, what keeps the economy going and the world spinning.
It's true.
Yeah, and the further Patrick's point, you have to also embrace failure too as well, and make failure a friend, as crazy as that sounds. You can't back off of it. You can't get 50 rejections and be like, this is just never going to work out for me. I'm not going to do this. I'm taking a month or two off for my search, or I don't want to do this anymore. Or my manager's saying no. You need to make failure a friend and be comfortable with it and say, you know what, I'm just going to overcome this and just keep going till I have my yes. Keep in mind, for everyone out there, most of which are searching or looking for a career change, you just need one yes to change your life. Just one. Just one. You can have 1,000 no's, but guess what? That one yes erases 1,000 no's. The issue is a lot of people do all that grinding, do all that digging, and then give up right before they got that yes. Give up right before they were going to hit that goal. So it's that consistent mentality of, hey, I'm not going to treat failure as failure, but failure is another stepping stone to get closer to where I need to be at. Once you embrace that from a mental perspective and treat that as a friend, everything changes and you don't see failure as failure.
I 100% agree. That's exactly what I would say. And I would say what you're doing today is positive energy, okay? The more positive energy that you can embrace while you are job searching is the win. I hate to say this, okay? Because a lot of job search is science, not chemistry or bio, Melissa, doctor science. A lot of it is science. It only takes one. There's a lot you can't see, a lot you can't control. The only thing you can control is yourself, okay? Like anything else. So if you put good energy into your job search every day by showing up here today, by doing proactive networking every day, something I've been saying for 25 years, you network the most when you need it the least. Just because you get a new job on Tuesday, God willing, doesn't mean you stop. You have to keep the energy going. And I think deep, okay, and because I am a Dreamcatcher, I can be deep. A lot of job search is what I call a little bit spiritual. Sometimes I 100% believe that our next chapter is written for us. It just sometimes takes the work to get there, and we don't know what the chapter reads like until we're there. And I swear, any of us on this panel would love to be able to help you get there, but chances are, even with all of our wisdom, the only way you're getting there is getting there on your own. Which is why all the help that my sister and I try to do is to help you get where you're supposed to go. No one is going to do it for you. So showing up today, registering with multiple agencies, trying to do something positive every day. If you feel crappy, do something good for yourself. Literally. Be selfish. If you got a rejection, you're not the only one. If it feels like your resume is going into silence, what can you do about your resume that's different? What can you change? What can you take as constructive criticism? Something I've said for another 25 years. Every recruiter, ready? Every recruiter has an opinion. And every recruiter is right. How annoying is that? It's so annoying. But it's the truth. Because we are salespeople. And we are trying to sell you as a product to our client. And if we give you a suggestion and you don't like it, we're just trying to help you. Think of it that way, okay? And if you can take those words of wisdom, I mean, I get so passionate about this, I'm like sweating. So if you, it's also hot. Is it hot? Or is it just me?
Bit.
Okay. Anyway, I want you all to leave here today knowing that you did something really good for yourself today. And with that said, by the way, another quick quiz for the audience. What should you do when you get home from today? What's the first thing that you should do? Thank you. If I want all of us to be irritated with how many LinkedIn requests we get today. I want to be added by every single person. You know my name, you know their names. You never know who you know, okay? And on LinkedIn, by the way, you can know somebody without having to know them. You can know somebody without having to know them. Okay. I'm going to lighten the load. Ready? Dawn. It could be in the building. It could be in your world, making your family work. Is there a brand or a company that is a true crush of yours? We all know what the word crush means. We remember that feeling where we had a crush on somebody and we wanted to flirt with them. There are certain companies that, for lack of a better word, turn us on. They're doing great things. They're doing something amazing and inspirational. You're here, you're an entrepreneur, you have your partner here, you moved to Bellworks, but we all have something that like we can't live without or we're fascinated by. Can you give us one?
Yeah, so I would say my brand crush. It's like I like clothes. Like if my
Same.
So
I could tell you're wearing those cool pants. I know those pants.
my wife's like, what do you want for your birthday? It's like she like wants to take me somewhere, right? Because that's what she likes, and I'm like,
I want to go shopping.
let's go to Nordstrom.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I would say honestly Nordstrom, and here's why. Let me explain why.
Nordstrom's a class.
So here's why. It's because I really believe that brands should make you feel a certain way, okay? I don't think it's necessary the clothes, but my thought process on this is that when you walk into a Nordstrom or like in here, and you got someone way smarter than me over there playing the piano, and you hear it in the background, does that make you feel bad or good?
Makes you feel good.
Right?
Shout out to the piano player.
Right, he's killing the game over there, right? So my thought process is this, is that I want to, even in like our company, I want to emulate that. I want to make people feel good. It doesn't matter if they're talking for me 2 seconds. Odds are they're not going to remember what I told them. They're not like, oh yeah, Don, outsourced sales and marketing company, AT&T client, staffing stores, promotions within, advancement. No, they're not going to remember that. They're going to be like, either Don introduced himself, smuggy, hands clammy, not excited, and they just won't remember me. Or they're going to be like, you know, that guy's energy was good. And I feel good because I met that person. And that's like my thought process. So that's why I'm going to choose like crushes Nordstrom.
I love that. I could not agree more. And also Nordstrom, by the way, has always been a class act in customer service.
Always.
Anybody that's a fashion person will know that we could return anything there for years later. And I know a lot of my friends through the years really pushed the boundary on that. I never did because I felt bad, and I'm a rule follower.
You have integrity.
Yeah, but I do. I have slight integrity. But, you know, I think, you know, something to be said about a Nordstrom is if you fall in love with a brand like Nordstrom, it doesn't just have to be Nordstrom. It could be the companies that Nordstrom works with. It could be their advertisers. It could be their the pillars that make them them. So when I tell somebody to do a Dream Crush project, I'm telling them to pick a company and then go deeper, unpack it a little bit. Go deep and think, who else do they work with and why? They had financial investors. Who are their financial investors? Who are their advertising partners? Like, where do they put their ads? Like, and those are things that you can then build a portfolio of interests for yourself, and it's not just one company. Okay, so with that said, Patrick, do you have a brand crush? It could be in the building, it could be somebody, it could be one of these restaurants, it could be a dry cleaner, it could be anything that is essential to your life.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't want to pin it down to a specific brand, but I would say fitness. Fitness for me, and if I'm going to shout out two things, it would be Fitness Factory in here, the gym.
Gotta love the gym. Thank you, Fitness Factory.
Yeah, thank you. My Brielle Sports Club gym at home. I think it's super important, as we talked about before, to really prioritize work. And if you work hard, you will succeed. But it is equally as important to find other passions and things that you love as well, because then at the end of the day, what are we working for if it's just work, right? So the gym is my outlet. The gym is something I love. You know, I work my butt off. I love talking to people all day long. And then I love me time. I put my headphones on. I put my hood up. Don't really talk to anybody in the gym, and I do my thing for a good hour, 15, and just try not to think about work. And then sometimes I come back after and I work a little bit more. You know, I do whatever I need to do. I cook. But the gym is my place where I just feel like I am disconnecting from work for a little bit, which is needed, right?
It is. It's mental health. By the way, job search is a big key of mental health. And fitness is a great way to change your energy.
Absolutely.
And, you know, granted, are you a burpee person? You don't feel like a burpee person to me.
No, I was for a little bit. I've since gotten away from them.
Yes. So, you know, fitness does not need to be you doing 60 burpees, because I hate them too, right? But you can find something that changes your energy so that you could go back to that desk and keep chomping away.
Yep. And that's why I wanted to keep it broad to fitness too, because there's so many different avenues to look at in fitness.
By the way, in this building, you have a lot of options too.
You have Fitness Row. You could do Pilates. You've got your bar class. You could go lift weights. You could go for a walk around the building.
How many
and
people
chat.
walk this building?
Right.
They get all their steps in. I love it.
Half my meetings are coffee walks, and I'm getting my fitness in
I love
while
that.
doing work.
I can't do it in these wedges, but I can maybe throw them off and go barefoot. What about
That'll
you,
work.
Steve? Do you have a brand crush?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a little 180 here from you, Patrick. I give you a shout out in the building. Jersey Freeze ice cream.
Yep.
Right there.
It's all balance. All balance.
It's about balance.
All balance.
I'm sure Patrick also loves it there.
Yeah, work out so I could eat those. Yeah, so they're, you know, a little escape. Y'all take the team down there once in a while, grab an ice cream cone. Maybe it's been a tough day at work. Maybe it's something where, hey, we got a few candidates rejection in a row. Hey, here's that failure, right? Let's make something that cheers us up. Let's go have some, regroup, sit down over ice cream, see where we went wrong, see how we could do better, and continue to gradual improvement over that. But I know it kind of always cheers us up when we need it. If anyone's here from Jersey Freeze, that's 7-layer Italian cookie milkshake. Last month.
Bananas.
Please bring it back if anyone's here, please. But yeah.
I had a container. I brought one of those pints home. I'm a rainbow cookie person. So here's the thing about Jersey Freeze, okay? Small business, been around forever. How many locations do they have? 3?
I think so. I grew up in Freehold, so.
Yeah, they have like 3. They're a legend. They do what they do, and they do it well, right? I like companies like that, and we have to pay attention to them. Also, something else you said. How old is your kid?
4 and 6 months. 4 and 6 months.
Oh, he's a baby. 4 and 6 months. I have the same split, except much older. That's a good split. And now you can sleep again, ish.
Now with the 6-month-old.
Yeah. Anyway, we are still who we were when we were little. Is there anything better than ice cream when things feel crappy? I don't think so.
No.
So to be able to grab that and do some team building and have some human interaction over something that feels less than, and with some chocolate sauce on it, you can only go up from there.
Speak my language.
Love it. Maybe we should have it for brunch. What about you, Melissa?
Well, I'll just say one, I love Nordstrom fitness and ice cream, so we're all aligned here. But outside of business, I have a couple different passions, and one of them is philanthropy. And I co-founded a nonprofit organization, Rare Genes Movement, and my dream is to make it internationally recognized. We advocate for children with rare genetic disorders. And I'm currently also in the process of writing a children's book that is eventually collabing within that same kind of field. And I'm an entrepreneur by nature, so I may or may not be thinking of an invention that may have something to do with what you just talked about. But my brand crush, I would say, is Duolingo. And that is because they have made learning cool. And I think that that is really cool and exciting. And I think it's just kind of the energy that exists within that I'd like to bring to every space that I'm in. My daughter asked me to download Duolingo, and she just turned 9 and she wants to learn other languages because it's trendy, because Duolingo made it trendy. So I just think that that is pretty fascinating.
Brilliant marketing department targeting
yes.
on the YouTube and the social media or the platforms that the kids look at, and
yes.
also the programming that they do. So
awesome.
By the way, here you have, this is very inspirational. Here you have somebody, a girl boss, right? Girl boss, owns a company, is leading a team, and has a family, and yet also still has a high side hustle that she's passionate about, and has a side hustle on top of that side hustle. So I bow down. I love that. I think it's extremely inspirational. Obviously, I think we all need to check out what the nonprofit is. What is it called again?
Rare Genes Movement.
Rare Genes Movement, which I deserves a look at from everybody. Also, I am a fellow children's book author. I wrote 2 in a chapter not so long ago, self-published, because I thought I was going to be able to get it published, and I thought wrong. So I'm happy to talk about that journey with you
yes.
at some point. And I think that Duolingo is a perfect example of how we should never stop learning. And if you can, I think the hardest part about job search is that you can't pay attention to how it's such an actually exciting time for you as a human because of the noose around your neck because of finance. If we were to remove the financial pressure of not working, we would have so much more room to empower ourselves with taking on new adventures or leaning into things that feel exhilarating, right? So paying attention to some of these dream crushes allow us to do that. Like Duolingo is such an exciting way of paying attention to how we can keep learning, even when we feel like we're not in a chapter of our lives that's about learning. So thank you for sharing that. So I'd like to spend 2 minutes before we sign off and let you guys get back to shopping these amazing companies. Is anyone in the audience have questions for any of us up here? Do not be shy. I remember you. I have seen you before. Oh no, you have laryngitis. Let's see if I can hear you. Infinity. Okay, Nvidia. Nvidia. 5th largest company in the world is here.
Marketing app.
Marketing.
By market cap. By market cap, yeah.
Here.
Thank you.
Marketing capital.
The 5th.
What it's worth.
What it's worth is here in this building.
5th or larger even.
Yeah.
They're here.
You need to mime. You had a fun night last night, I guess. Yeah. So, anyone else? And I think that's nice to say. Like we're not just sitting in the middle of nowhere here, guys. Like we're in a special spot. And also, there's another Bellworks coming. Have we heard about this? And let's not even discuss what's going to happen at the fort. I'm so excited for that. Okay, go ahead. What's your question? Yep. So I know this sounds one-dimensional, but when you use AI, you need to be yourself. If you're too stoic and you're not yourself, they can't feel you. So you kind of have to think about when you're asking it for help, are you being yourself? No different than if you and I are meeting for coffee. You have to talk to that platform like you and I are meeting for the first time. So, and I feel like people really don't use chat to their advantage because they're using it like, I want to, like a Google, like we're looking something up. This is not for facts. This is for enhancement and for embellishment. And if they've spent, whoever they are, if they've spent all these millions of dollars to create it to be emotional, well, then we should be emotional too, right? So the question I'm going to turn back on you. when you go to ask it something, make sure you're asking as a human and not asking it like, flippantly. Does that help? No problem.
And to further that point, yeah, for the most part, you should be using it for brainstorming, right? Treat it as an extra set of ears and eyes in a room and go back and forth and have a conversation and gather information, then put your own perspective on it. I think where people get wrong is they blankly put something in the system, get an answer, copy paste, boom, there's my answer, and don't think through it, right? And in that case, you're not coming off to yourself, not authentic, and the downfall of that too is keep in mind you're one of probably 100,000 people doing that exact same thing, especially use a job search. If you're doing that, plugging directly verbatim in your resume, guess what's going to happen? You're going to look like 100 other resumes, 1,000 other resumes exactly like that, and you're going to come off pretty generic. And let's say me, as someone who's looking at 1,000 resumes, skip. I've seen this. Ooh, this is unique. So the point of it is to use it as something that's going to help you as a person, help you find your answer without being overly relying on it and just here's the answer. All right, I'm good.
There's also a good video out right now on YouTube that talks about how to do the perfect prompt. Okay, and I think that's very important.
That's what you were asking.
Yeah, so
Very
I would study that and go on YouTube and do research, because once you get good at asking AI, like, to do specific things, it helps you out like night and day.
So I'm of the generation that I was in between having to do everything myself and then having technology. So some of us, there's like a little small section where AI is actually really great for my little tiny section of the world. Because for me, I'm not going to go to it with a prompt. Like, for instance, I wrote something yesterday. I had to write a very detailed email to parents of graduating 8th grade students. And then I also had to write something to 3rd grade students, because I run a program, because I have 18 million side hustles like Melissa. I run a program where I go into the schools and I talk about dream chasing, and I help them with a time capsule where it's signed, sealed, and delivered for several years. So I wanted to write something that was emotional, but I didn't want to be too verbose. And I took something I already wrote and put both of those things in there and asked them to combine it, asked my friend Chat, to combine it in a way that still sounded like me, didn't lose the point, and could be more condensed. And they come right back with you. And by the way, I don't ever just take something that they spit back at me without reading it. Because if you don't read it, because by the way, it's on you to make sure it looks right. And then when I did do that, by the way, now if you look on my social media, you'll see, because I posted it yesterday, my truth is out. The thing I posted yesterday was a combination of 2 things that I wrote myself that I asked Chat to help me combine, because for whatever reason I was staring at it and I didn't know how to lessen the load. And that's what AI is for. AI is to make things easier, not to replace who you are. And that's when you show up to anything, that's what you want to make sure you're doing when you do the prompt. I like what Don said. Any other questions out there for us? Go ahead. I can hear you. The question is, with certain industries booming, which industries should we avoid if we're kind of a world is our oyster kind of person? We don't really care. We're equal opportunity. Where should we avoid? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely fair question. So I think, and you'll see this out there, what you're trying to see, and this kind of plays back into the AI kind of revolution we're going through right now, is more of those clerical-based jobs, more of those administration-based jobs. You're starting to see companies find ways of, well, how could we reduce workforce here, and how can we do this in a simpler way, or how could we do this in a more efficient manner where we need less resources? Because keep in mind, the decision makers from the top, the CEOs, CFOs of the world, are worried about their bottom line, and how do I keep my bottom line, and how do I do things in the most efficient manner. Not necessarily a scary thing, it just means the workforce is getting evolved, that people need to be repurposed for what they do and learn new skills or learn how to work with the technology. So I think things of that nature, you're starting to see a little bit of a pullback or more efficiency. Not saying they're going away, they're not. There's still people-based skills there that need to be had. But if I had to pick one area where I'm seeing a pullback, that's where if I'm a new job seeker, I would have a bit more caution going into, or at least a way to improve my skill set and surround it and have something additional that I could bring to the table from it.
It's a very good point. And I would say I wouldn't pin it down to a specific industry, but that does make sense too. I agree with you. One way to counteract that, though, I think that we touched on before, is that find your way to add value. There's always a way to add value, and it could be in many different ways, but if you find a way to add value to a position, to a manager, to a company's CEO, or to their revenue, then AI or anything won't take that over. Just find your way to add value, I would say, in any industry, anything you want to go into.
By the way, I'm a little late to the party here, but I just noticed that Melissa and Don's sign is right across from me, and their hashtag or their slogan is "Made from Grit." See, I can see 2020 from here, and someone must have been blocking it before. I love that, and that's what you said. Yep. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, my friend in the back, you might have to come up to us. Thank you for being brave.
Hello?
I got you.
Yeah, so I worked in the city for many years. I worked in the city for many years, like in some intense finance roles. Last time I looked for a job was before the pandemic. And you mentioned with the pandemic now you can be more open about hybrid schedules or bringing that up in the interview process or trying to just figure out what life's like. So just curious if you could just elaborate more on that and sort of how things have changed.
First of all, I like your top.
Oh.
Thank you for standing up in front of everybody and sharing your question. So I think, and I'm going to speak for my colleagues here, I always caution direct questions in an interview process on hot topics. Now, in the state of New York and New Jersey, there are laws that have been passed in the last few years where salaries need to be printed, which was very interesting for Patrick, Steve, and myself for a long time. With that said, when they're talking about salary and they're honest and authentic about it to a point, they also usually will say if the role is supposed to be on-site, remote, or hybrid in the job posting. And I'm not just talking on Indeed or LinkedIn, even on their websites. So if you respond to a job that says it's on-site and you go in for the interview, I'm not saying it's impossible that that company would not be flexible, but my suggestion, Steve, Patrick, back me up, is to go in knowing that that job's going to be on site. But if they fall in love with you and you fall in love with them, and then there's an opportunity to talk about flexibility, then it would come up later.
Agreed. Once you add your value.
Once you add your value. But there are and this is what I would say cautiously, there are too many people looking for work for us to scream our wish list before we've gone in for the interview. So my post earlier this week was, anyone that wants to meet you, you should be going. Because until you've met in person or virtually, you don't know what you don't know. And if you cast something aside before, then you've left no room for opportunity. Does that make sense? So my point to you is it's not impossible, but I wouldn't ask it directly if the job you responded to said on-site. Does that help at all? Steve, do you want to say anything, or Melissa?
Yeah, I don't think it's a fair point. A lot of it's driven by the culture of the company, so sometimes more people are on site and, hey, we're just back to the office and we have this real estate we need to be utilized. Don't ask, and sometimes it's a flag. If you ask, they're just not going to hire you, to be dead honest. Some cases, more of a remote culture. So best way, sometimes do research on the company, understand how it's structured. Generally, your first layer is going through a recruiter anyway. For the most part, it's very rare you talk to a hiring manager off the bat. So you can kind of ask some feeler questions, get an idea of what the culture of the company looks like. And then it's going to be the trade-off on your side. Hey, what do I want more? Do I want this company? Do I want this opportunity? Or do I want flexibility in my life? And that's on the individual.
And by the way, it may not be that unflexible. So allowing yourself the opportunity to see what it is, like if it's full-time and it's, 8 to 3 and it's in Holmdel, You might be like, well, you know what? I love that idea. But it was never something that you would have crossed your mind before, right? Because the definition of full-time on-site was 2 trains and a bus and or an hour and a half boat plus a half-hour drive that we all lied about, you know, and these are real things, plus a long day, plus then being on-site, you know, on 57th and Lex, which was inconvenient to all of those things. There's a very big difference between full-time on-site 57th and Lex from Monmouth County and full-time on-site at Bellworks. Fair? So allow yourself an open mind while also honoring your truth. Does that make sense? Does that help? Good.
I was going to say it's just something very similar, but just know what your deal breakers are. If you have deal breakers that are non-negotiable, well, then you can ask those things up front to not waste your time or anybody else's time because they're non-negotiable for you. But if it's not non-negotiable, I would be flexible to hearing because what you feel now may change for the right opportunity.
And listen, even on this panel, Patrick said a few minutes ago that he was remote and didn't want to come back, and now he wouldn't have it any other way. And he's not just saying that for the panel. He wouldn't say it if he didn't mean it.
Nope, not true. It's all true, right?
Yeah.
And that's just comes with going into things with an open mind, because you might think something one day and a week later it could be completely different, and that's how growth happens.
Right, and also every company is different. So if you worked somewhere for a very long time and you never experienced a different culture, sometimes just seeing a different culture is what you need to see. And when you're in the zone that you're in, all of these feel like things you can't control, so therefore we power them down before we look at them. Okay? So for the interest of time, not ignoring you, but for the interest of time, I just realized that we ran pretty over, and I know these guys have people that they need to meet and see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you for being here with us. I'm going to take a group picture with my crew here, and then I'm going to hang around for a little bit if you have any other questions for me, and send them back to where they need to go, and I encourage you to find them at their different posts. Okay? Now, granted, I admit, my sister, who I told you I work with, she supplied me with our updated informational cards to bring with me today, and guess who left them at home? Me. And that's not my fault, because I had no power, and I got dressed like a pilgrim this morning, but I'm here. So I forgot to bring them. I'm sorry, Jamie, you're not going to listen to this, but if you do, I'm sorry, Jamie. I am happy to tell you all about what the Dreamcatchers do, job search strategy, and offer you the empowerment that we offer. Come find me, and it's the same thing as looking it up on the business card. Also, you can find everything you need to know at _ the Dreamcatchers 23. Actually, just the Dreamcatchers, sorry. See, now Jamie would be mad at me twice. _ the Dreamcatchers, okay? And again, I'm Marissa. Thank you for being here today. I'm very proud and inspired for you guys. This is not the end, it's the beginning. And at some point, you will look back on these moments and say, wow, that was fun, in quotes, okay? And then one day, you'll be sitting up here with me, giving inspirational talk to other people. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Don. And they all can be found right here doing their thing any minute. Thanks,
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sound Universe. Shared Universe.